So it's a real pleasure to be here today. I am the Dean of the University of Chicago Pritzker School of Molecular Engineering. And this is a talk about molecules, so it's really apt, and I was thrilled to be invited to give this talk. I know we haven't heard a ton about Chicago today, but of course, the city and the University of Chicago are a really important part of our technological ecosystem. We have a lot of great resources. We're especially trying to create and build the ecosystem in the biotechnology area. And we have many partnerships with both Purdue and University of Illinois. And in fact, many of the big partnerships and initiatives that you've heard about today are collaborative with many universities, including University of Chicago. I should also mention that I was faculty at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign for 17 years. And so, I've seen how strong partnerships can be from all sides, and I'm really happy to continue to push these forward. So part of the discussion today is thinking about opportunities and investments in cross-sector collaborations and how these lead to impact and growth in our region. I think I want to go back and I think right. And in that context, I really want to discuss PME, the Pritzker School of Molecular Engineering, as an example of what happens when you make a big investment in the area of molecules and what impact that can have. So we are the School of Molecular Engineering. That means that we're building devices and materials from the molecular level and up. We are the School of Engineering at the University of Chicago. There is no other School of Engineering. It is only the School of Molecular Engineering. We aim to address global challenges and societal problems by translating advances in basic physics, chemistry, and material science, and biology and computation. We have a unique structure in that we're intrinsically interdisciplinary. We don't have departments. We instead focus on thematic research in areas that we want to impact. And if you think about it, if you were going to create your own new school, which takes a lot, as I'll talk about, but if you wanted to do that, you may not start from departments that were defined 100 years ago, right? You may not start with mechanical engineering or electrical engineering, but rather focus on a topic like quantum engineering or biological engineering, where you really want to have an impact and that requires cross-disciplinary collaboration from the beginning. And that's what we do within our School of Engineering. We have intrinsic interdisciplinarity. We also tried from the start to partner with other people to build strength. We know that starting a new school, we're going to start small, and in order to have impact, we want to partner from the beginning with other academic institutions, with industry, and with national labs. So this is just a brief history of the Pritzker School of Molecular Engineering. We started in 2011. It's just 13 years ago. There was one person there, the first dean. There was no one else. There wasn't a building. There were no labs. In the intervening 13 years, we got a big gift to become a school of engineering, the first new school at the University of Chicago in 30 years, and the first school in the country of molecular engineering, until today when we have 45 faculty, and I was named last year as the second dean of the School of Engineering. And as I mentioned, you may think about what it takes to build a new school. It's surprising to some that University of Chicago didn't have a School of Engineering. It's surprising to some that they now do have a School of Engineering. But there was an understanding on campus that it was a great risk not to create the school, that we couldn't solve the problems and give the education that we need to our students without incorporating engineering. Global challenges these days really require engineering. And so they took the risk and made a big bet. And if you think that it may cost billions of dollars and that hundreds of people have to be all in to start a new school, you are correct. But that's what was done, and I think that we've really been successful by any metric. And in fact, in the past couple years alone, part of our collaborations and our work has contributed to over $1 billion in investment in the region already. And this is part of our goal. So this is PME at a glance. A couple of things I want to point out is, one, our very strong relationship with Argonne. Argonne is just 20 miles away. We have over 20 professors who are joint with Argonne. You saw Suprata Guha up here earlier today. He's a joint professor with Argonne. We really leverage the strength. We have labs there. Some of our faculty have their only labs at Argonne. Some are half and half. I also want to point out our strong relationship with companies and with launching companies. Again, at University of Chicago, there was not the strongest culture of entrepreneurship previously, I would say. There was some, but it was known as a school that really sort of looked at more intellectual endeavors. And part of our goal is to put forward the more entrepreneurial spirit, to partner with companies to start new companies. And you can see that we've been pretty successful in that area as well. I also want to note that we are committed to growing. We right now have 45 faculty. We hope to double in the next 10 years and then increase again by at least a third or maybe even 50% in the 10 years after that. We have a new 350,000 square foot building coming online dedicated to engineering, quantum engineering, and a whole set of wet labs as well that will allow us to grow. And this building will be open in 4 years, hopefully. And as I mentioned, we're intrinsically interdisciplinary. These are the themes that we focus on. We focus on biological and immunoengineering, material systems for engineering and sustainability, and quantum engineering. And today I'm going to talk about, in the spirit of molecules and the panel that was just here, I'm going to focus on our biological and immunoengineering research group. Within this theme, we really focus on combining the breadth and strengths of immunoengineering within the biology and the medical school with the design and fabrication expertise of engineers in order to really revolutionize therapeutics and potential therapies for human diseases, and specifically diseases for the immune system. Right, and I should mention that our initial focus was the immune system, and we're now broadening to many other types of diseases. So I have to talk a little bit about the science because that's the fun part for us. I'm just going to give 2 examples of some of the science and collaborative science that we work on to show how by bridging science and engineering and working with others, we can get to even better solutions and even more potent entrepreneurial activity. So this first example is where we had our basic scientists and engineers work together to help cure atherosclerosis. And I can't pronounce this. Atherosclerosis. Okay, I'm just going to mangle my throat. I'm actually a quantum physicist, I'm going to acknowledge, so. But atherosclerosis. Okay, anyway, so, but the idea here is really, really cool. So this is a disease where plaques form in your arteries. And it leads to inflammation, which ends up leading to about 50% of the deaths in industrialized nations. This is deaths due to heart attacks and other sort of cardiovascular diseases. So it's an incredibly big problem. And again, one of these inflammatory diseases that you heard about earlier today. And so our scientists found pathways where these plaques could form and then worked with our engineers to create nanoparticles that could use RNA therapy, connect nanoparticles to RNA, and attach specifically to the plaque and reverse the way that they attach to your arteries. And so this led to significantly reduced inflammation at the sites where the plaques would form. And so again, I mention this because it's a combination of people who knew how to deal with nanoparticles and people who knew about the biology of atherosclerosis and could work together to find these solutions. And right now, we're moving toward translation. It's right now funded directly by philanthropy and private foundations, but hopefully that will move to the market relatively quickly. The other example I want to give is how we engineer vaccines for cancer and immunotherapy. This is really small over here, but the first example is basically when you get a vaccine, people often have inflammations. It's sore where you get a flu vaccine, and many of us also get sick for some number of days. I know that the COVID vaccine has knocked many of us out for a few days after getting it. And so one of the goals is to try to minimize that effect because that's an immune response effect. And so right now we're working with artificial intelligence and machine learning to try to figure out the small molecules that can be used to modulate your immune system when you get vaccines. And this has actually been very successful in showing in reducing adverse reactions and making more potent the response to the vaccines for certain types of influenza. We've also been working on what's called an inverse vaccine. Vaccines typically induce an immune response, but as you heard from Chancellor Jones this morning, immune responses are actually responsible for almost 50% of deaths, and so often you want to inhibit immune responses. And so some of our scientists have developed an inverse vaccine, which actually inhibits immune responses, and this has already been shown to be very effective in certain types of diseases like celiac disease. And if I could show that, it's not a video, but the video, it shows 2 mice, and one has an immune response, and it's basically just immobile, like in bed. And the other one has been given the inverse vaccine beforehand. It is very frisky, and it's worked very effectively. Wow, that's interesting. And the third response I want to talk about is creating a molecular platform for looking at combinations of therapies. So as you know, when people are treating things like cancer, it's often not just one therapy that's used, but many therapies in combination. But how do you know which therapies are going to work the best? You can't just try every possible combination of therapies. And so our scientists, again, have worked together to create a microfluidics platform combined with tissue that can test multiple types of therapy, and it's actually been proven to work as well at predicting what combination of therapies work as different types of trials. But they can do this in the lab, and they can do it very, very rapidly. Okay, so that's just some of the science that we're working on, again, that requires this combination of engineering and science. But one of our goals is not just to do basic science, but to bring these therapies to people who need them. And so we really focus on enabling entrepreneurial activity. These are some of the companies that have started. Nokion by one of our faculty, Jeff Hubble, who is bringing this inverse vaccine concept to market. It's already gotten $100 million in initial funding. Jeff also started a company, Thera, which is on minimizing cytokine responses, which is when your immune system basically goes out of control. We have companies that have been started based on microbiome-based treatments to express immune responses, as well as generative AI platforms, which can help solve critical diseases. A lot of our entrepreneurial activity is facilitated by the Polsky Center at University of Chicago. The Polsky Center started in the School of Business about 20 years ago, but 8 years ago, and again, sort of timed with the School of Engineering, it expanded from just business school to working with everyone at the University of Chicago, including the School of Engineering. And then just 4 years ago, they launched Deep Tech Ventures, which are offering sector-specific accelerators. And the accelerators happen to be in the same areas as our School of Engineering's themes, which are quantum engineering accelerator, an energy sector accelerator, and a biotechnology accelerator. And so we work very closely with Polsky to bring more companies out. And Polsky is open to everyone. And so we have people coming in from California, we have people coming in from around the Midwest. And as you heard from the panel, one of the goals here is to keep companies local, is to have a place where companies can connect to venture, can connect to scientists, can connect to mentors, and build in the Midwest and keep these things local. And we've been pretty successful so far in doing that. Overall, Chicago is building the innovation ecosystem specifically for biotech. Again, a lot of people go to the coast. Why? Because the money is there, some of the facilities are there, so we're trying to bring all of those things here to Chicago, to the Midwest. We have the accelerators that we connect to venture. We need lab space. There's been a lot of lab space that's been built recently. These include space at Fulton Market, that's where the CZ BioHub is based. In Lincoln Park, there's new lab space. In Hyde Park, there's new lab space being built. This will allow companies to start somewhere. I want to especially point out Hyde Park Labs. That's being built in our own backyard at University of Chicago. This is coming online, I don't know, where are we? Hopefully in about 6 months, right? I see it being built every day. It's really close to being done. The School of Engineering is actually going to have a floor there. That's where we are going to have our energy technology people work in concert with industry. And so we already have an energy transitions network set up there with companies working together with academics. The School of Medicine will have a couple floors there where they hope to do the same thing. And then the other floors will be set aside for early stage incubators at various levels, working very closely with the Polsky Center. And University of Chicago is really focused on generally building research, strength, and jobs in the community. I want to point this out as well. This is Washington Park in the south side of Chicago, just south of the university. And our Medical and Biological Sciences Division are building a biomanufacturing center in this park. This is in partnership with the city colleges, where the goal is to build a new training facility for medical technologies, which will bring jobs to the region and also fill a key need for hospitals. And so that's stage one, that's definitely going to happen. And then stage two would be building out more biomanufacturing space in this region that, again, will bring jobs and opportunities to the region, especially to the south side of Chicago. Overall, like I said, we're just focused on building out the engineering ecosystem, right? This includes Indiana. We're very close. The south side is, 10 miles from the border of Indiana. This includes all of Illinois. we have incredible strengths here, and we really are working together and need to continue to work together to build out our ecosystems. We have consortiums with many of the different hospitals. We're still building things like cancer centers. We're partnering with different biotechs. We started a new partnership with Orange Grove Bio to continue to build out this biotech ecosystem. And I want to just end with one of the most successful collaborations. You heard this morning about the Chan Zuckerberg BioHub from Chancellor Jones, and I want to emphasize this again because I was actually on some of the early phone calls when we were working on this, and it was Saturday morning phone calls for 2 hours for months between people at University of Illinois, University of Chicago, and Northwestern, and we just talked about science, about how it would work, about how we were going to work together. It was incredibly collaborative, collegial, and exciting. And lo and behold, we were the only place in the country to win one of these in the second round of funding. And the first round happened just in Facebook's backyard. So okay, that doesn't count. But we beat out Houston and all these other places for this. It's $250 million of funding over 10 years for studies into tissue engineering, and that research is ongoing across universities, and hopefully will again continue to spin off companies and have impact in the region. So with that, I will end. I'm really excited about helping to build this ecosystem, and I'm excited about partnering with many of you in the future. Thank you very much.